Welcome to Lecture 3 of Chapter 8. In this lecture we'll talk about drag coefficients and how they vary on different shaped objects. So our first step will be to define the drag coefficient. I think I mentioned this briefly before in Chapter 6. The drag coefficient is defined as, we could call it a dimensionless drag force. So it's the drag force, FD, divided by 1/2 rho V squared A. So FD is the drag force. A drag coefficient C sub D, okay, and A is the projected area on a plane normal to the direction of flow. V, of course, is the fluid velocity. Okay. So a projected area on a plane normal to the direction of flow, if we were considering a sphere, then its projected area is just a circle with the same diameter as the sphere. If we're considering a cylinder of a certain length, then its height would be D and its length would be L, let's say. So its projected area is just a rectangle. So in this figure from your text, which is figure 8.9, we have the drag coefficient plotted on the vertical axis, and we have the Reynolds number plotted on the horizontal axis, and we have drag coefficient as a function of Reynolds number, and we can see that it varies from a value of about 2 down to a value of almost down to 0.02, so several orders of magnitude. There's a number of different curves on the plot. So the top one is for a smooth circular cylinder, and then a rough cylinder, a smooth sphere, a rough sphere, and then a streamlined cylinder and a streamlined sphere. So if we talk about the case of a smooth sphere, so the smooth sphere at a, so if we consider the case of a smooth sphere, that will be this curve here, right? If we trace it out. So at very large Reynolds numbers, so if we have a Reynolds number of about 100,000, we see that CD is going to be equal to 0.2, okay? At a Reynolds number in the range, so over that range, the drag coefficient is constant. So that's a range from 40,000 to 100,000. Over a range from about 1,000 all the way up to where it drops here, so up to about here. I would say, so that's Reynolds numbers from 10 to the 3 up to, and that is about 2 times 10 to the 5th. Okay, so I realize now that I think I read that number incorrectly. That's at 10 to the 6th. So this is 10 to the 6th here. It's a little hard to see. This is 10 to the 5th, 10 to the 4th, 10 cubed, 10 squared, and then 10 to the 0. Okay. So over that range from 1,000 to 200,000, CD is about 0.4 to, we'll say 0.5, so it's approximately constant. And what's happening at this Reynolds number right around 200,000, we see that the drag coefficient drops, right? So at a Reynolds number of 2 times 10 to the 5th, CD goes from, so CD drops from about 0.5 to 0.2. So that's the change, or the abrupt decrease I was talking about in a previous lecture, where the boundary layer on the sphere becomes turbulent and the separated flow region decreases. Okay, so that's when the transition to turbulent, so the transition to a turbulent, and I'm going to use the abbreviation BL, boundary layer, occurs. Okay. So these curves, all for the cylinder and the sphere up here, these correspond to so-called blunt objects, right? And if we streamline the cylinder or the sphere, you can see that the shape, we essentially fill in the region where the separated flow region would occur with a structure. It reminds me of some of those helmets that, I don't think the bike racers wear them very often anymore, but for a while, if you watched the professional bike racers, like the Tour de France, they had a helmet that was streamlined in much the same way. It had this kind of big tail on the back. Okay, so that creates a streamlined object, and you can see that the drag coefficients decrease by almost an order of magnitude, right, when you streamline it. So the pressure drag has been dramatically reduced, and the frictional drag has been increased a little by adding that streamlined tail, but the overall effect is to reduce the drag coefficient by quite a bit. Okay, so streamlined, we could say streamlining reduces the drag coefficient dramatically. Okay. And here we have a detailed discussion of what's going on for the drag coefficient on a smooth sphere. So I've highlighted that already in red on the plot. So at very small Reynolds numbers, less than 1, there's actually an analytical solution for the drag coefficient. CD is equal to 24 over the Reynolds number. That's sort of analogous to the expression for the friction factor for laminar pipe flow, which is 64 over the Reynolds number. Okay, so as the Reynolds number increases, at the Reynolds number of 10, that's when separation first occurs. Okay, so this is again, of course, figure 8-9 repeated here again. And when the Reynolds number approaches 1,000, the separated flow region grows. At a Reynolds number of 1,000, 95% of the drag force is form drag. So form drag is the same as, we could say, is another name for pressure drag. Okay. So 95% of the drag force is pressure drag and 5% is frictional. Okay. So at Reynolds numbers from 1,000 to about 100,000, that's when the drag coefficient is approximately constant. At 200,000, the drag drops 60 to 80%, and that's when the boundary layer becomes turbulent. Okay. If the surface is rough, or the free stream turbulence is strong, this drop can occur at a Reynolds number of 80,000. So that's this curve right here. Okay. You can see that the drag force doesn't drop as much, and that would be due to the slightly higher frictional drag produced by a rough surface. Okay. Here's a table from your textbook. So it says drag coefficients for various blunt objects. So we have the drag coefficient listed here, Reynolds number listed here, and then we have the object listed there and some of its properties. So for example, the first one listed is a square cylinder of dimensions W and W. So L would of course signify its length, W is a width, D is a diameter, and R is a radius in this case. So they say if L over W so L over W is defined as being equal to alpha. If the Reynolds number is greater than 10,000, then if you have a long cylinder, CD would be 2, and as you shorten it down to a cube, the drag coefficient becomes 1.1. Okay. If you have, let's look at some more interesting ones. So as we go down, we can see they're describing various geometric objects and giving you estimates of the drag coefficient. For a 1920 automobile, the drag coefficient is 0.80. You can hardly read that there. I know the table's not very good. A modern automobile with square corners has a drag coefficient of about 0.3. So you can see that streamlining automobiles reduce the drag enormously. A modern one with rounded corners, I think that number is just slightly lower, 0.29. Obviously, if you buy a sports car like a Lamborghini, its drag coefficient would be even lower. This is one I find quite interesting. So if you have a bicycle rider upright, 1.1. If they're racing bent over, you drop it to 0.9. But if you're drafting, which is what the Tour de France professional bike racers are always doing, I call that tailgating, you reduce your drag down to 0.5. So you can see that's a huge advantage. The person at the front of the group, or if it's in front of the whole group, that's called the peloton, they're working almost twice as hard as the people behind them. So that's why they're always, if they're cycling in a small group of 3 or 4, they tend to rotate who's at the front because they're working way harder. That same principle sort of applies to geese flying in formation. The geese that are back behind the leader would experience a lower drag force. Here's a plot from the Fluid Mechanics book by Munson showing the drag coefficient of automobiles way back in the 1920s. It was 0.8. And now it's down about in the 0.3 range for modern automobiles. Okay, so that means the drag force has been reduced by about 2.5 times from 1920 to, we'll say, 2000 for automobiles. Here's a really interesting set of tables from Munson's book. At least I think they're interesting because, again, there's a couple of really interesting entries in here. So it's a similar table. Lists the shape of an object. Excuse me. How you compute the area, the drag coefficient, and the Reynolds number range that it's applicable to. So let's look at the bike grouping here. So the numbers are kind of pretty comparable. An upright commuter riding on a bike not bent over, that's the drag coefficient of 1.1. If you're bent over and you're, quote, racing, 0.8. And if you're doing the drafting / tailgating, 0.5. But what I thought was interesting was if you're riding one of those recumbent streamline bikes, I don't know if you've ever seen them, they're sort of got a, sometimes they have an almost totally enclosed cab. You can get down to 0.12. Okay, so that's a huge, huge reduction in the drag. But the most amazing number in this table is down here, in my opinion. CD of a dolphin is 0.0036. Okay. that is an extremely tiny drag coefficient, because a flat plate has a drag coefficient of 0.0031. So a dolphin swimming through the water is like a thin flat plate. So, and I'm not sure that's been fully explained, but obviously dolphins are pretty streamlined just in terms of their shape, so it's a frictional drag issue then. But the skin of marine mammals and of fish, I don't know, to put it in sort of layman's terms, it's like super slippery, and the drag coefficients are just really small. Okay. So there's some other interesting numbers here. The one related to trucks is interesting. If you have a standard tractor trailer, 0.96. If you have one of those fairings on the roof, it reduces to 0.76. And then if it's actually connected to the cab and closed, it's 0.7. So those are significantly smaller numbers. So there's a good, you could say, there would be good economic reasons to have those kinds of fairings installed at the roof of trucks, or to streamline them, if you can reduce the drag coefficient by 20%.